If you're ever driving near Devil's Lake and see an old and glowing under the moonlight, don't stop. Even if your car breaks down, even if it's storming, even if it looks like your only chance to survive the night. The Thornkeep Inn is open, but it never lets you leave the same. I took the job because I was broke. I stayed because the paycheck was real. But now I realize the job wasn't hiring for a night clerk. It was looking for a sacrifice. That I first saw the Thornkeep Inn on a rainy Wednesday evening. I'd just blown a tire, my phone was dead, and I hadn't seen another car on the road for over an hour. The GPS had gone haywire miles back, rerouting endlessly until I gave up and followed the trees. And there it was, the inn, old Victorian manor squatting at the base of a pine-covered hill, its windows like dark, watching eyes. The sign swung overhead. With a screech, Thornkeep Inn, EST 1886. It shouldn't have been open. Not at that hour. Not in that place. But a warm glow came from the lobby. So I stepped in. The air inside was thick with cedar and something else, something sweet and rotting. The place looked like it hadn't changed since the 1900s. Velvet furniture, oil paintings, brass lanterns. A huge fireplace blazed even though it wasn't cold. And behind the counter, a man stood waiting. "Mr. Rowe," he said before I could introduce myself. "We've been expecting you." I froze. "How?" He smiled, crooked teeth and all. "You called about the night clerk job. You're right on time." I hadn't called. I never even heard of this place until that moment. But I didn't correct him. I needed shelter. I needed money. And something about his voice pulled at me. He handed me an old-fashioned ledger. My name was already written in. "Just sign." He said that I began my first night that evening, after a quick tour of the property. There were 12 rooms, all named after flowers: Rose, Lily, Dahlia, and Room 6, which was simply called the guest room. I was told not to clean Room 6, not to enter it, not to ask about it. "That room is always occupied," said Mr. Grayson, the manager. "Whether you see someone enter or not, don't disturb the guest." "Do they check in at night?" I asked. He looked at me for a long moment. "They've always been here." The shifts were lonely but quiet. I sat behind the desk, read ancient journals guests had left behind, many filled with odd sketches, strange runes, and paranoid notes, and made rounds every hour. The corridors creaked like they were breathing. Sometimes I'd hear doors shutting upstairs when no one was booked. Once, I saw shadows pass under doors where no light glowed. But the worst was Room 6, that every time I passed it, I felt watched. The number on the door wasn't painted. It was carved, and fresh blood seemed to bead in the grooves. The smell coming from it wasn't human. One night, around 2:17 a.m., I heard laughter behind the door. Not one voice. Dozens. All laughing in perfect unison, like a broken record spinning in hell. I asked Grayson about the history of the inn, but he always deflected. "The less you know, the longer you'll last," he said. That only made me dig deeper. That I found newspaper clippings from the 1920s in a locked drawer. A former clerk had vanished in 1928, another in 1937. The most recent article was from 2006. A traveling journalist had stayed one night and disappeared, her last notes describing the room without a door. I returned to Room 6. That I stared at it for a long time. And then I knocked. The door opened. What I saw inside wasn't a room. It was a forest, an impossible, endless, red-lit forest filled with crucified deer and trees that pulsed like living hearts. The walls had fallen away. I was standing on black soil, though I never crossed the threshold. That a voice whispered behind me, "You've seen it now." I turned. No one was there. The door slammed shut, and the hallway returned. That night, my reflection in the mirror blinked after I did. I checked out guests who didn't speak, just slid their room keys forward with rotten fingers. And at exactly 3:03 a.m., the phone rang. "Hello," I said. The voice was mine. "Don't open the door again," it whispered. "It's hungry now." I tried quitting. I told Grayson I wanted out. He laughed. "You don't leave Thornkeep. You're part of it now. You signed the book." He showed me the guest ledger. My name had bled into the page, pulsing faintly like it had a heartbeat. "They call it the Book of Binding," he said. "Those who sign never leave the lake." I tried escaping that morning. I packed and drove down the forest road. But no matter how far I drove, I kept passing the same crooked pine tree with the split trunk, over and over, until I was back at the inn. The sky never lightened. The sun never rose, and the clock hands had stopped at 3:03. Forever. That was 3 nights ago. Or maybe 30. Tom doesn't work here anymore. I still work the night shift at Thornkeep Inn. Guests still check in. Room 6 is still occupied. And me? I've started dreaming of the forest, even when I'm awake. You can escape Thornkeep Inn by running, but the forest follows you. You can jump in Devil's Lake, but the water remembers your name. There is no salvation here, only reflection. And what you see in the mirror isn't always you. I haven't seen the sun in 5 days. I'm sure of it now. Every morning, I walk outside to check. The sky is a deep, gray bruise, never light, never dark. Just frozen. The trees don't sway. The birds don't sing. The air hangs thick like honey and never moves. I've tried using my phone, radios, even an old TV in the inn's lobby, but they all show one thing: my own face. Staring back. Even when they're turned off, I would have thought I was losing my mind. Until I looked into the lake. Devil's Lake lies just behind the inn, past a trail of dead trees and scorched grass. It looks black during the day, blacker at night. The locals, what few exist, say it has no bottom. No one. I was drawn to it like a moth to fire. The second I reached the bank, my breath caught. The surface of the water was completely still. Too still. Not a single ripple. And then I saw it. Not my reflection. It looked like me, sure. Same face. Same hair. Same tired eyes. But it smiled. Before I did. I stumbled back, heart pounding. And the thing in the lake leaned forward. It pressed its hands against the surface from the inside. My hands began to tingle. I looked down. They were wet. Freezing cold. But I hadn't touched the water. The thing mouthed a word. Traded. That night at the inn, every mirror had fogged over. I hadn't taken a shower, and the heat was off. Yet condensation dripped down every glass surface. In the mirror across from the reception desk, I saw something. Not myself. Not exactly. It was me again, but thinner. Gray. Hollow-eyed and shirtless. Its chest carved with strange symbols that bled continuously. And it waved. I confronted Grayson. He was sitting in the parlor, reading a leather-bound book with pages that flickered like film reels. What is that thing in the lake? I demanded. He didn't look up. That lake isn't water. It's memory, and it's dying to replace yours. Replace mine. He finally looked at me. Thornkeep Inn wasn't built here by chance. It was built to protect the world from that thing under the lake, and from those who try to let it out. Why would anyone do that? He smirked. Because the lake gives you what you want, even if it kills everything you are. Grayson handed me a box from beneath the front desk. It was old, bound in red cord and sealed with wax. Open this when you truly believe it's too late. Too late for what? He didn't say. The guests were worse now. They came in pairs. Always in pairs. One of them looked normal. The other, distorted, like an echo of the first. Pale, twitchy, unblinking. They would check in wordlessly, always asking for a room with a mirror, and when I looked again after handing over the keys, one of them would be gone. Only the distorted one remained. I began keeping logs. I documented every sound, every flicker, every hallucination, or what I thought were hallucinations. But the logs began to change when I wasn't looking. One night, I checked my notebook. My entry for the day read, June 19th, 3:03 a.m. I opened the door to room 6 again. I walked through the forest. I stood before the lake. I saw myself. I traded places. I hadn't written that. I hadn't even gone near room 6 again. But when I checked the hallway, the door to room 6 was ajar. This time, I couldn't resist. I had to know what was happening. I stepped inside. It wasn't the forest anymore. Not exactly. It was a hallway of mirrors. Hundreds, thousands, lining endless walls, floors, ceilings, all showing twisted, burning versions of Thornkeep Inn. Some mirrors showed corpses in the rooms. Some showed me, choking, hanging, smiling, bleeding, and one mirror in the center glowed red. I touched it. I was pulled inside. I fell through cold. Not air, cold itself. A void of ice, but also memories. My childhood, my regrets, my darkest secrets whispered back at me as I tumbled down. I landed at the bottom of Devil's Lake. But I could breathe. The water wasn't water. It was glass. Liquid mirrors. I walked across the lake bed as if on land, each step echoing like thunder. Around me, reflections swam, millions of versions of myself, living different lives. Some rich, some alone, some dead, and then I saw her. My mother, she died 10 years ago, but there she was, sitting on the lake floor, holding a photo of me. Come home, she whispered. I ran to her. She smiled. Her eyes turned black. I woke up in my room, gasping. Only it wasn't my room. It was reversed. Everything was mirrored. Furniture on opposite sides. Clock ticking backward. My reflection in the window, moving independently from me. I screamed. It screamed louder. I finally opened the box Grayson gave me. Inside was a mirror shard, wrapped in red cloth. Beneath it, a note. This is the last real reflection. As long as you have it, the lake can't take you. But if you break it, you take its place. I keep the shard in my pocket now, but it burns. Each night, the burning gets worse, and each night, I see more of me walking into the inn, greeting guests, cleaning rooms, smiling behind the desk. I've started losing time. Hours vanish. My voice sounds wrong. My skin itches. I look in the mirror, and I'm afraid one day I'll see nothing at all, because I don't think I ever left the lake. I think I drowned in the reflection, and something else came out. They say Thornkeep Inn only has 12 rooms. But that's a lie. There's a 13th room, hidden in the blueprint, buried beneath the floorboards, sealed behind the mirrors. And if you hear knocking from inside it, do not answer, because the thing behind that door is not a guest, it's a host. And it wants you to stay forever. I haven't slept in 6 nights. Or maybe 60. I don't know anymore. The clocks in the Thornkeep Inn are liars. They tick backward, or stop altogether. Sometimes they skip time entirely. I'll blink and lose 3 hours. And when I check the guest log, it says I've signed in over 400 times. But that's impossible, isn't it? I tried burning the place down last night. I doused the lobby in kerosene, struck a match, and threw it. It fizzled. Not because the wood was damp. Not because the air was thick. Because the flame wouldn't exist. Like the inn refused to be destroyed, Grayson saw me. He didn't stop me. He just stood by the staircase, arms folded, and said, "You can't kill a mirror with fire, Mr. Rowe." I asked him what that meant. He smiled. "You're still trying to kill the building. You should be trying to kill what's inside you." I went back to my room, heart pounding, sweat cold. I locked the door, taped the mirror, turned off the lights, but the knocking started again. Not from the hallway, from inside my closet. 4 soft knocks. Then silence. Then 4 again. Rhythmic. Patient. I didn't open it. I couldn't. Instead, I slid the mirror shard from the box under my bed, held it toward the closet door. The knocking stopped. But the mirror, it cracked. That morning, room 6 was open again. But this time, a key lay in the hallway outside it. A black iron skeleton key, etched with symbols I'd only seen once before, carved into the wrists of the version of me that smiled from the lake. There was a note attached. "There is a 13th room. Find it before it finds you." I searched everywhere. The blueprints of the inn I found in Grayson's office only showed 12 rooms, as expected. But the spacing between room 5 and room 6 was wrong. There was a wall, just 6 feet wide, with no explanation for it. Behind that wall, there had to be something. I broke it. I waited until after 3:03 a.m. when the inn goes silent. I snuck upstairs with a crowbar, heart in my throat, and pried open the rotting wood. Behind it was a corridor, narrow, dusty, alive with the smell of salt, ash, and rot. And at the end of that hallway, a door, dark wood, unmarked, no room number. But I knew this was the 13th room. The key fit perfectly, but when I turned it, I didn't hear a click. I heard a breath. The door didn't open. It exhaled. And then the whispering began. Thousands of voices, whispering in perfect unison. Room for one more. Room for one more. Room for one more. The hallway behind me vanished. The walls rippled like flesh. The carpet squirmed. And I swear to God, the door smiled. I ran back into the hallway, back past room 6. But nothing was the same. The rooms were gone. The hallway stretched infinitely. The wallpaper peeled to reveal faces beneath, screaming, laughing, watching, and then the lights went out. I woke up in the reception chair, back in the lobby. Everything seemed normal, except the guest book. It was open to a page I hadn't written in. June 22nd, 3:03 a.m. I found the 13th room, but it didn't want me. Not yet. M. Row only. I hadn't written that, and I was sure I hadn't gone inside the room. But when I looked at my hands, they were bleeding. Both palms had 13 carved into them. That night, the inn filled up, more guests than ever before. Dozens, maybe more. They came through the door one by one, each identical to someone I had known in my life. My old teachers, my dead brother, my ex-girlfriend, my landlord, my childhood self. But none of them acknowledged me. They just walked upstairs, and one by one, vanished. Grayson didn't say a word. He simply whispered to me, "They're checking into room 13. Every soul this place devours builds another inch of it." I finally demanded answers. He took me downstairs, to the basement. I didn't even know Thornkeep had one that we descended. 79 steps, each step longer than the last. At the bottom was a circular chamber lit by gas lanterns. In the center, a mirror point 10 feet tall. Framed in bone. It wasn't a reflection. It was a window. And on the other side, an infinite row of inns, each one identical, each one flickering like film, trapped in a loop. Thousands of Thornkeeps, thousands of MEs behind the front desk. "This is the original," Grayson whispered. "Every inn across the world with an unsolved death, a haunted mirror, a vanished guest, they're reflections of this one. And they all connect here, through room 13. You were never hired to work. You were chosen to mirror." I asked him who he really was. He answered by removing his shirt. His chest was covered in mirrors, embedded into his skin. His face shimmered like a surface, not real, but refracted. He wasn't human anymore. He was a host, and I was his replacement. Now, the guests whisper when I pass. They murmur things I don't understand until I see my face in the window, or the TV, or the pool of blood from a broken nose. The reflections have begun to smile first. Sometimes, they keep smiling after I've stopped. The 13th room has opened itself. There's no longer a door, just a hole in the wall, pulsing like a wound. And every time I blink, it gets closer. It wants me inside. It says there's room for one more. There's no key to check out of Thornkeep Inn, not because the door is locked, but because you're already gone. The moment you sign the ledger, your body stays, but your soul gets put in room 13. Now the mirror calls. The halls shift, and something wearing your skin is walking around in your place. The inn is no longer an inn. It's alive. It breathes. It groans. The wallpaper pulses like skin under my fingertips. I hear moaning in the pipes, and the stairs stretch or shorten depending on my thoughts. I haven't seen Grayson in 3 days. I don't even know if he was ever real. The desk where he used to stand is gone, replaced by a mirror I'm too afraid to look into. The shard in my pocket has gone dark. I think my reflection has finally escaped it. Every time I pass a mirror now, I avert my eyes, because the thing in the reflection, it's not me. It's closer. It watches with hunger. And when I look too long, it grins with my teeth, but not my soul. I tried to run again. One last desperate escape. I packed only the mirror shard, a flashlight, and a knife from the kitchen drawer. I bolted through the front door at full speed and came crashing into the lobby. Again and again and again. No matter which way I ran, every exit turned me back toward the check-in counter. Worse, the clock never moved, still frozen at 3:03. And the guest ledger was open to a page I hadn't touched. I checked out at 3:03, but it wasn't me who left. I broke down. I screamed. I cried. I shattered every mirror in the lobby, but the shards kept floating, hovering midair, rearranging themselves into a figure. Me, but made from glass. Cracked and bleeding light. It spoke in my voice. "There are 2 of you now. One to work, one to stay, but only one can leave. And he's already gone." I searched the rooms for help. Every door I opened revealed something worse. Room 1, a bathtub filled with teeth. Human, still chattering. Room 2, a woman sleeping, skin peeled off, smiling through her exposed gums. Room 4, a room made entirely of mirrors. I couldn't even see the door once I entered. I wandered for hours. Saw myself killing Grayson. Saw myself jumping into the lake. Saw myself smiling as guests bled. And then, in the center, a little boy, wearing my childhood clothes, holding a note. "You're the reflection now." I escaped that room, barely. When I returned to the hallway, it was gone. Room 4 was replaced with room 14. But there is no room 14. Is there? Eventually, I stopped opening doors that there's no comfort behind them. Only memories twisted into nightmares. The inn doesn't give you rest. It feeds on your identity, your guilt, your choices. Every step I take, it rearranges. Every thought I have, it uses. And the worst part, the guests keep coming. Tonight, a family checked in. A mother, father, and twin daughters. They didn't speak. They didn't blink. Each of them had my eyes. I went to room 6 again. Not because I wanted to, but because it called me. The hallway was lined with black drapes now. Blood dripped from the ceiling like slow, red rain. My feet squished with every step. I opened the door. Inside wasn't the forest or the hallway of mirrors. This time, it was a funeral. Mine. I was in the casket, face twisted in terror, hands folded around a burned mirror shard, and the room was full. Grayson stood beside the coffin. So did my mother and my brother, myself. Thousands of me. They turned to face me. Every single version of me. One screamed. One cried. One lunged. The rest stood motionless. And then, together, they chanted, "Check out is not an option." I ran, but the walls melted. The floor disappeared. I fell down through the floors, past unseen rooms, down into the lake. But I didn't land in water. I landed in room 13. It was different now. No walls, just reflections, hovering midair like ghosts. Each one showing a version of my life. I didn't live. 1 where I never took the job. 1 where I died in a car crash before reaching me. In 1 where I set the place on fire and succeeded. And 1 where I was already sitting behind the desk, smiling at a new arrival. A young man, wearing my jacket, carrying my suitcase, walking into the inn for the first time. "Welcome, Mr. Rowe," the reflection said. "We've been expecting you." I screamed, and the scream echoed, not just in the room, but across all the reflections, because I realized something. There are infinite Thornkeep Inns, each one feeding the other, each one growing stronger as it consumes more souls. I'm just one clerk in an army of reflections, and now, it's my turn. Grayson found me sitting on the floor of room 13, catatonic. He helped me up, told me it was time. "You've done your part, Michael," he said. "Now go give the ledger to someone else." I didn't respond. I followed him silently, back up the stairs, back to the lobby. The clock still read 3:03. But this time, I didn't mind, because a car just pulled up outside. A man stepped out. He looked confused, tired, lost, just like I did that first night. I smiled and stepped behind the desk. The guest book opened itself, and the pen moved. "Welcome to Thornkeep Inn," I said. "We've been expecting you." The man who walked and looked just like I did. Damp hair, cracked phone, suitcase clutched with trembling hands. He didn't ask about the room. He didn't question the power being on. He just wanted shelter. Safety. I knew better now, but I still handed him the key. Room 3. The mirrors flickered the moment he crossed the threshold. That was the final sign. I'd become part of the system. Not an employee. Not even a prisoner. A function. There are rules at Thornkeep Inn. Not the ones pinned on the corkboard in the back room. Not even the ones Grayson used to whisper between nightmares. These are the real ones. Never stare too long into your reflection. It stares back harder. Room 6 is always occupied, but not by who you think. Room 13 only appears when you're ready to leave, and even then, it doesn't open. If the mirror smiles first, you're already gone. And if you try to check out, you'll just check into another version of yourself. I stopped sleeping. I stopped eating. I don't even breathe unless a guest walks in, like I only exist when someone's watching. The inn uses IT feeds on repetition, on roles, on souls. And once you've accepted it, once you've mirrored the smile, it no longer needs to force you. You become the next hook. Last night, I saw Grayson again. He was behind the reception desk in another Thornkeep. Through a mirror he looked younger, cleaner, but his eyes, still hollow. He mouthed something through the glass. "We are the inn." And then he faded away. Sometimes, I still try to rebel. I rip up the guest book. I shatter the mirrors. I scream into the endless halls hoping someone, anyone, can hear me. But the moment I stop, the book's back. The mirror is whole. The inn forgets nothing. The man I checked in last night, he knocked on the counter today, begging to leave. I smiled. "Checkout is not an option," I said, then handed him a mirror shard. The same one Grayson once gave me. Now he carries it in his pocket that he thinks it's protecting him, just like I did, just like they all do. And me? I wait for the next guest, yet there's always room for one more. Asterisk slow fade as the camera pulls out from the Thornkeep Inn, glowing under an eternal dusk. Through the second-floor window, a reflection stares blankly out. But there's no one in the room that a whisper echoes over the trees and lake.